President Trump, I think it's fair to say, even if you don't like him, he's a decent problem solver. I mean, we got the border. We got stopping some wars that people don't even recognize in Africa, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. You know, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that Donald Trump's come in and solved pretty quickly. Neutralizing Iran and the decision to bomb them. I mean, that quieted them down and was decisive action. But now, two vexing problems remain for the president, and neither one is going to be easy. Number one is Putin, and it's just Putin. It's not Ukraine. It's not EU. It's Putin, one man. And the other is high prices for essentials in America, which is very, very difficult. And the president needs to start a campaign to get those prices down if he wants to control the power level that he has after the midterms. So we're going to take a look at Putin because that's the hot subject this week, and that is the subject of the Talking Points memo right now. Okay, so in the first 4 years of Trump's presidency, 16 to 20, Vladimir Putin was under control because Trump used the same techniques in negotiation that he used to be successful in business. And those techniques are basically saying to whoever you're negotiating with, be my partner. And if you're my partner, we're all going to win. We're all going to prosper. That's the art of the deal. Flattery, all of that. It comes all into, it's you and me against the world. And it's worked very well for Trump. And it worked for 4 years with Putin. You'll remember. Who went to Crimea under Obama. He did not respect Obama. Took it. Boom. And Obama didn't do anything. But then Trump came in and Putin calmed it down. He was still a villain. He was still evil, doing bad things behind the scenes, but nothing that was roiling the world. And then as soon as Trump lost to Biden, then again, no respect on Putin's part for the democratic machine in America. He marches into Ukraine to kill more than 1 million people, if you count up the Russians and the Ukrainians and all of the people who've been wounded and all of that displacement. And then Trump gets back. One of the keystones of Trump's campaign to be reelected was, I'll solve this Ukraine thing on day one. Now, he said it many times. And if I were president, it never would have happened. Putin confirmed that in Alaska. You know, I mean, it's subjective, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, certainly. But I'll solve it on day one. That obviously didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because Putin has changed. And President Trump did not recognize the change. I believe, and I can back it up, in my new book, Confronting Evil, that Putin is mentally ill. So I went on News Nation last night, and here's what I said. Go. So now there's going to be a reset. You have to do whatever you can, all right, to try to get Putin to stop. And that means a third meeting. It means this. It means that. You've got to placate him to some extent. But the bottom line is you're not dealing with a rational person here. You're dealing with a person who would kill millions of people. So you've got to be very methodical. But the way to get him is Putin doesn't want to die. Now, when I say Putin doesn't want to die, I mean it literally. That's why the mullahs stopped. Because the mullahs knew the next step was to kill them. That's why they stopped in Iran. If Putin feels that his own life is in jeopardy because his people are starving, and you can do that by very, very stringent sanctions, or military action, which I would not do, not over Ukraine. Okay? If he feels that it's his neck in the noose, to use a cliche, he'll get pause. Now, if you think that I'm overstating this, I am absolutely not. And again, I'll go back to Confronting Evil. Adolf Hitler got progressively worse as he maintained his power in Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945. He became a total lunatic. He wasn't stable to begin with, and neither was Putin. And you'll see, we chronicle his childhood and everything like that. You'll see it. But most of these violent dictators, they just lose their minds. And that is what has happened to Putin. I have information that says that Putin was ready to use a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine in the early going. Now, I think the information comes at an ultra high level. I can't confirm it, but I'm not surprised by it. I believe firmly that if his back's to the wall, Putin will use nukes. He doesn't care who dies. He doesn't care about his own people either. When you're dealing with that, then, it becomes a totally different negotiation because the person is not rational. Now, I don't know whether Donald Trump can bring the economic pressure to starve the Russian people. I think he can. The EU is backing him. It's China that needs to get on board. And again, I have the best contacts in the world with China. Nobody has better contacts than me. And you know that. I was over there in May, all of that. But I don't know whether they're going to turn on Vlad. Okay? If they do, then Putin will have to deal. If they don't, it's going to be, a slog punch out for Trump. But I don't criticize the president for what he's done. I don't care about the red carpet. I don't care about the flyover. I don't care about the limo. I don't care about any of that. I want the killing to stop. One more point, and this is an important point. I say that Putin's mentally ill, and you're going to write me, go prove it, O'Reilly, right? Because that's my audience. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com if you want to write it right now. Okay, you're Putin. You're coming to Alaska. You get on a plane in Moscow, you fly in. There's a red carpet there. There's a president of the United States actually applauding. There's pomp and circumstance. You're being treated as an equal. You get to ride in his car to the negotiation spot. All of that you get. He did not pause the bombing on the drones 1 minute. He was killing babies and innocent people while he was in Alaska. Who does that? You couldn't pause for the weekend? You couldn't give peace a chance, as John Lennon once sang, for 2 days? No. Is that the action of a rational man? No. And that's a memo. All right, the other big story is there is another, I think this is the 10,001, peace, ceasefire, whatever, in Gaza. This comes from Qatar and Egypt. And it would involve the 20 hostages that are purportedly still alive being exchanged for Palestinian prisoners. That's Hamas terrorists. And then there would be a ceasefire, and then humanitarian aid would be allowed to go into Gaza. That's the framework. Now, the terrorists, Hamas, say, yeah, we'll do it. How many times have they said that in the past? You lose count. We don't know what Netanyahu and Israel are going to do about that, but I have to report it. And, that thing is so irrational, so out of control, because you're dealing with evil people. You're dealing with terrorists who kill. People don't understand that these Iranian mullahs, the Hamas, the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda would kill every single person on the planet who didn't conform to their insane theocracy. They'd kill everybody. America is more dangerous than ever with violent crime on the rise. While you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings, trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. New study. So this is important. It's not at the level of war and peace, but it's important. So last night I had a little dinner here on Eastern Long Island, and there were urchins, there in the dinner. High school kids and middle school with their parents and running around. And they're very interested in my upcoming book, Confronting Evil. Okay, because we got Hitler on the cover, we got Mao, we got Stalin, we got Putin. And then there's 12 other guys inside the book that are as evil as you can possibly imagine. Anyway, what's about? These are kids are asking me. And I'm trying to explain it to them. They knew nothing about even Hitler. And I said, don't they teach you that? No, not taught. And then I looked at the parents, and the parents kind of embarrassed. And I said, well, it's hard to engage these kids in conversation because they're always on the phone. Every waking moment they're in the house. They don't watch TV anymore. Not watching TV. They're not reading books. They're on this. And it's very hard to get them away from that. Okay, and I think that is an accurate assessment of where we are in America. So there is a new study comes out of the University of Southern California. The Financial Times printed it, about 15,000 younger people, about the effects of the phone. And here are the highlights. 20 to 30-year-olds report being more easily distracted and careless. I see that in my own urchins. Okay? They're on the phone, they forget they got to clean the room or whatever they have to do. Reduced tenacity and follow through on commitments. So, yeah, I'm going to do this, Dad, and it doesn't get done because they forget because they're on the phone. Okay? Then there is higher anxiety levels. Why? Why would that be? Because there's so much stuff they don't understand and so much negativity on the phones. Bullying, huge. Little kids getting bullied by name, getting destroyed in their communities, and kids are anxious about it. And less outgoing. People, they stay in the house instead of going out, jumping in the ocean or the pool or playing stickball and the stuff we didn't know. Nope. In the room with the phone. So joining us guy now from Brooklyn, New York is Colby Hall. You may know him. He's the founding editor of Mediaite. He wrote a column on how all of this stuff is going to negatively affect the United States big time, and it's coming up fast. Should I have included anything else in my lead before we get to the specifics?
No, I mean, I think you set it up wonderfully, but I also think that in one level, this is kind of obvious to anyone that has kids, or you go outside, you go to the park, everyone's on their phone. With the study, I thought sort of hung a lantern on was just how bad it's gotten. And no one's really talking about what an enormous, not just a generational shift, but a millennial historic shift. And we should start to talk about it because I fear it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But there has been talk in New York State, for example. There's a new law that bans phones in school during class time. They are concerned about the distraction, they being the authorities, but it hasn't risen to the level that parents are banging the emergency bell. And that's what I'm seeing. They allow the urchins to do this because if they don't, there's tension in the house. There's angst. Now with me, that never worked because I don't care about angst. So I'm going, there's no phones at the table, and it never was. And that put the phone down is one of my favorite phrases. And do this. But I'm a martinet, word of the day. But most parents, they let the kids do it. So I think it's the parents' fault. And I do think it's going to adversely affect this country.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's everyone's fault, but the parents are the ones that are responsible, right? I also abide by a no phones at the dining room table ethos as well. And I'm proud to say my 22-year-old reads books. He's a big reader. My 18-year-old is not. And maybe that's because one just graduated from college, the other's about to go to college. But this is an issue where we need to figure out how we the genie is out of the bottle. The genie's out of the bottle and has got his own TikTok account and is distracted enough to try to solve this, right? And, I put in my column that I compared it to the Gutenberg, inventing of the printing press, which, changed, it started the Renaissance. It spread knowledge and understanding of Christianity, and so many great things came from it. But the effect of that took centuries to unfold and for people to read across the world. This is the same thing, but it's unfolded over a decade, right? And so there's been no guardrails. There's been no sort of, you can't really regulate it because it is what it is. I think you make a very salient point that parents need to take a lead role and be a lot stricter about this. And I happen to think, I've done some research on this in the New York public schools. Turns out, who's the biggest fan of not allowing phones in schools are many of the students, because they want to have a break. The isolationism and the anxiety, the lack of consciousness. I think a lot of these kids that are addicted to their phones, they're somewhat aware of it. And when you force them to detox and, I don't know, play a parlor game or spend quality time with your parents or your friends, or, I sent my kids to summer camp mostly so that they wouldn't be on their phones and they would be playing, pick up baseball, wiffle ball, swimming, fishing, what have you. Not everyone has that opportunity, but I don't know what's the solution. I think we are at a point where we need to recognize it so we can try to detoxify our brains before it's too late, because I think we're raising a generation of zombies who don't even know what's wrong with them, right?
And
And I think
they're not getting stronger. This makes you weaker. It makes you weaker
right,
mentally, and it makes you weaker physically because you're not out there exercising or anything like that. It's easy to isolate yourself in your room with the phone. And my 22-year-old, who I think is smarter than I am, he doesn't read many books, but he does research, and good
right,
research, on the stupid phone. But I have to explain to him that, look, you got to broaden it out, particularly if you want to be president of the United States, which I think he's got a shot at. All right, you can't just be a phone addict. Now, the thing that concerns me the most about mental health, and that's big in this country now, with all the addiction we're seeing, with all this violence we're seeing across our country, we are the most addicted, violent country in the world. Okay, we are, and that's shocking because we are based on Judeo-Christian philosophy, but the urchins don't even know what Judeo-Christian philosophy is. Okay, they don't know. So when I was teaching high school, I saw the bullying in the halls. I saw it. I stopped it. And I stopped it sometimes in a very confrontational way. Now the bullying is on a machine. And they can tear kids apart, leading to suicides and all of that. And a lot of the kids don't tell their parents. They're afraid to tell
right.
their parents. All right, because they think the parents are going to run down to the school, or they're going to run to the kids' parents, and they're going to make it worse. That, I think, is one of the most dangerous aspects of this phone culture.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, you've worked in the media space for a long time, as have I. You've developed a certain level of skepticism, and you have a critical mind, and you can smell a scam a mile away, right? These young teenagers don't have that. They don't have the wisdom of those experiences. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, right? And that's made me smarter, right? And I can see, a phishing scheme, a spam, some sort of, attack to try to steal your data. I can see that coming. A lot of these kids can't. Two other things. I mean, I think there's been this rise of, I was talking about this with Jonah Goldberg yesterday, who was he's a conservative thinker. He started National Review Online, and he was kind of like a comedian. He was sort of a troll, and now he can't do that because the trolling behavior from the extreme left and the extreme right has kind of ruined it for everyone. It's no longer funny. It's just mean-spirited. And I don't think that kids are equipped to handle that. And then the one last thing I would say, this isolationism. People just get lost in their own phones. They don't want to,
Yeah,
engage in the outer world.
right.
And there's a lack of community. There's no faith-based living. There's no churches. People don't go to church anymore. And so there's a lack of community that is helping. Not every parent can do it on their own, but if there's elders in the community that can help out, that's gone away also. So it's a kind of a perfect storm of negative influences. I feel bad for our kids. We shouldn't blame them. They're
Yeah,
kind
and
of
as in a free society, there isn't legislation that can stop it, and the cruelty
right.
factor is rising. Because every tape of somebody being cruel is on that machine, TikTok or whatever it is. So the more cruel you are to your fellow man, the more exposure you're going to get, and that they're just absorbing it like this. And it's real. It's not movie. It's not Terminator. Okay, this is real. And now the anesthesia fills in. I've seen it so much, it doesn't even affect me anymore. So I don't know what the solution is. I know you can't legislate against the First Amendment. I do like all of this school stuff. No phones while classes are underway. And I think that we have to spread the word that parents have a responsibility. But the irony is some of the parents are worse addicted than their kids. Last word.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we can't solve this problem immediately, but recognizing it is the first step. And calling out adults to parent is a major first step, and take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Gobi. Appreciate it very much. The American dream is changing. Forget the white picket fence. Today, it's about getting out of debt. If rising prices and credit card bills are weighing you down, there is hope. Done with debt. They don't offer loans or push bankruptcy. Their expert negotiators go straight to your creditors, cutting what you owe, wiping out interest, eliminating penalties. They fight until your debt is gone. Most clients see more money in their pocket the first month. You've worked too hard to let debt win. With Done With Debt, freedom is possible. Please visit donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their experts, completely free. But some of their solutions are time sensitive, so don't wait. Please go to donewithdebt.com. Again, donewithdebt.com. Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of five-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Here is the final thought of the day. The Constitution gives every American the right to be a moron. And many of us exercise that right every day. There is a book, sold 6 million copies so far, by Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory. It's basically, you're not going to change the morons. You are not going to educate them. You are not going to make them better people. You are not going to make them see the light. And when you get a kid, that just drives you crazy, right? So Robbins says, you got to let them do it and work on your reaction. My reaction usually to morons is, I am polite. And I would throw out maybe a line. Maybe you want to think about this. Keep it pithy. That's all. Because I know people believe what they want to believe. You're not going to change them. They don't have a frame of reference. They don't understand how anything works. I'm writing my message of the day tomorrow about these letters I'm getting about Putin. People have no idea about what this is. You got to have some kind of clue, but you don't have to, do you? You have a right to be a moron. Thank you very much, all you smart people, because morons don't watch this, don't listen to this program. You got to know something to watch me. So we appreciate you. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.